Do you think now is a good time to invest in real estate? With everything going on in the world, tariffs, high interest rates, doom and gloom in the marketplace, would you become a real estate investor during these times? Well, in today's episode of the Never Lose a Deal podcast, I am going to talk about how to invest in real estate in a recession. So, today, that is what I want to discuss. I want to also share with you the reason why I decided to do this episode is because over the weekend, I hosted a live workshop, Funding Flow to Deal Flow. And the reason why I decided to host this live workshop is because now in today's market, when it comes to real estate, and that is why in today's episode, I really want to focus on the difference between investing in real estate and buying a home and why those two things matter. Now, primarily here on the Never Lose a Deal podcast, my focus is on real estate investors who are looking to expand their real estate portfolio to be able to leverage different forms of funding and financing. This is not a show for first time home buyers. This is not a show where I'm going to talk about how to house hack. This is a show where many of the people who tune in are already investing in real estate. So they don't need to be convinced is real estate the right asset class to invest in. But I get it. With me being on the internet, with me creating this podcast episode, whether you are watching it on YouTube or listening on one of the podcast platforms, you never know who you may be talking to. But I always want to preference it on that primarily what I discuss here is for investors. And the reason why is going back to what I previously said. Over the weekend, I hosted a workshop. Now, the workshop focuses and it focused on, should I say, how to be able to expand your portfolio, real estate portfolio, being able to leverage the different forms of capital that is out there in the marketplace. Whether a person wants to leverage business funding and pair it with some type of investing, financing product, sky's the limit. I say that to say, right now in the marketplace, we are either in a recession or going into a recession, whatever the economic experts may tell you. This is not the market where you just want to accumulate a lot of information. That is something that I told the attendees who did attend the workshop. Because right now we're in a time and place, especially on the internet, information is abundant. You can find information everywhere. ChatGPT, on podcasts, on videos, on clips, on social media. Information is abundant. But how do you really drill down that information for it to be in alignment with what it is that you want? And that's where I see the missing information, because what I tell people and what I discuss in the workshop is that my goal is to help you implement the information that I'm going to share with you. So if I'm on this podcast and I'm talking about ways that you can leverage business funding with a DSCR loan, just know it's not information. It's something that I can help you do. If I'm talking about how to leverage business funding with a fix or flip, understand that it's something that I can help you do. Because right now in this market, as I stated earlier, you don't want to have a lot of information and you can implement it. And that is what I'm seeing is the missing piece in today's market. Many people are bloated with information, but they lack implementation. They do not know how to implement what it is that they are doing. And so when I say, how do you invest in real estate in a recession? Being very clear on what it is that you want to do. Case in point, I'll give you an example from the workshop. I don't have any problem, and I have did this for many years, where most people would put someone in financial bondage. I try to be very clear on what it is that a person is looking, what are they really looking to do? What are their goals? One of the goals of the participant that was there is that they wanted to invest in real estate, because since I marketed this workshop online, although it was geared for real estate investors, I did have some people who had never invested in real estate and who attended. And one of the attendees was a person who had never invested in real estate. And they really did believe that they needed business funding to be able to invest in real estate. So the first question I asked them was, do you currently own anything now? And their answer was no, they don't own anything. My next question was, do you desire to own something of your own? And they said, yes, I would like to own a multifamily, one family, two family, or three family. That is very common in the Northeast here in New Jersey. I would like to rent, I would like to live in one unit and rent out the other. So, once again, this is what I always tell people: men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. I said, let's run the numbers. Now, this person truly did believe that they needed business funding to invest in real estate. But once I showed them that if they were to access funding, and this is a person who has never leveraged funding before. So, outside of what the gurus who will tell you, your personal credit is going to be looked at. And so, if you were going to invest in a multifamily here in the Northeast, right now in this current market where I'm actually located, multifamilies on the low end are going for $500,000, 500K. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, there are people who are watching this video or listening to this podcast, and they don't even have the capacity to even understand that, yes, there are people who are buying places to live that are $500,000, and that's on the low end. That's not even on the high end, that's on the low end. If they were, and going back to the example, if that person was to leverage business funding, 20% of that, if they were to use an investor's product, meaning investor financing, we're not talking FHA, we're not talking conventional. If they were to leverage investor financing, because that is what I do, they would have to put 20% down. 20% of 500K is $100,000. Now, let me tell you, for my own benefit, I am winning, because I'm going to get two pieces of the pie. I'm going to assist them with getting the financing on the 500K for the loan that they want for the multifamily. And I'm going to win with me being able to assist them with getting the funding. I am totally winning for my benefit. But I told that person, and I said, let's run the numbers. And I don't even benefit with me telling you this other scenario. You shared with me you never owned a home before. You shared with me that you would like the opportunity to be able to live in one unit, house hack, and then rent out the others. Why don't you go FHA? Put 3.5% down. That roughly came out, I think, when we calculated, about $17,000. That's right, on a 500K home. If they were if they were to go conventional, 3%. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I don't even do FHA. Not licensed to do it. I don't write FHA. I don't do FHA loans. When I do meet someone that does qualify and who would be a great match for FHA, I give that business to local professionals that I know that I've built a relationship with, that I trust them and I trust their judgment, and I give them the business. Ladies and gentlemen, I said that to say I would have been financially winning if I put her in the direction of getting her business funding and putting her in investor loan. She still would have gotten the same result. But financially, when I showed her both pictures and we literally mapped it out, I let her choose. And she said, you know what? The FHA or going conventional is a better route for me to go. And I don't even make no money on that because I told her if she decides to go the FHA route or conventional, she has to be very cautious of her DTI, her debt to income ratio. So your business funding experts won't tell you that piece. They will bloat you with information and razzle dazzle and salaciousness of the power of business funding, but they will not share with you what that picture looks like. That is the purpose of why I decided to do that workshop, funding flow to deal flow, because I am a big advocate of funding doesn't matter, the deal matters. Once you get clear on the deal, the money is just the byproduct of it, because there are so many creative ways that you can be able to do the deal. It doesn't start with the money, because if you let the money be the leading factor, there are opportunities that you possibly could have leveraged, but because you are highly leveraged in one area, it messed up your chances. And that's why I tell people there is a difference between information and implementation. Because let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, most people can only bloat you with information. They cannot give you the real life scenario of what that looks like. And when I say real life, meaning for them to be able to hold your hand and literally assist you with implementing what they recommended. They cannot do that. Why? Because, and this is what I tell people, going back to how to invest in real estate in a recession, you got to be very clear on what it is that you want to do. When I just said in this market, a multifamily goes for $500,000, most people who are listening to this podcast or watching this video don't even have the capacity to even comprehend that there are people who are buying multifamilies on a low end for $500,000. And if that is you, 9 times out of 10, you are looking to invest in markets out in the Midwest where you can buy something under 50K. It's no shade in that. I'm not knocking it. But a lot of times, the information that is being presented to you, a lot of times is being presented to you from the position of what a person has exposure to. And it's nothing wrong with that. You just need to know that if I'm going to take in that information, is that information going to assist me? Because this is what I tell people. If I'm going to, if you are going to leverage business funding, and you're going to use some type of investor financing, you need to be very clear. Is the financing lender compliant? What do you mean by that, Lorillia? Lender compliant. My business funding, my business credit expert doesn't talk about that. What lender compliant means, do you plan to pair that business funding with what it is that you want to do? Once again, remember, I work with investors. I get investors financing. I'm not talking about your first time home buyers. I'm talking about real estate investors who are looking to buy multifamilies, fix and flips, new construction, fix to rent. So if I'm talking to those pool of people and I want to leverage business funding and I'm going to use investor financing, is what I'm doing going to be lender compliant? What does lender compliant mean? Meaning that I need to be full disclosure. I know your business guru may have shared with you that you can use multiple credit cards to buy real estate, and it has its place. It has its place. And a lot of times its place is when you are literally looking to buy it all out and you don't want to leverage anyone else's money, because there's no way that all you have is a credit card. You don't have no other sources of income. I've talked a lot on this channel about asset-based lending and the power of it and what it can do. But if you think you are going to just use a lender's financing, whether it's for a fix to flip, multifamily, new construction, fix to rent, and you think you don't have to go through underwriting, and you don't think the lender's going to do their due diligence on you to make sure that you can even afford the loan that you're getting, then you are being bamboozled. And so when I say how to invest in real estate in a recession, understand if you are going to leverage lenders financing, you have to be very sure you know what the numbers are and understand whatever you're doing is compliant for the lender. You're not going to be able to go rogue. So a lot of what's out there in the marketplace is either for first-time home buyers. That's a whole nother realm. That's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about investing in real estate, not buying your first home. If you're looking to leverage business funding, most of the business funding information out there is for you to use a credit card and buy very low cost. Nothing wrong with that. If you want to buy out in Ohio and Indiana and any other market that houses are going for under 50K, by all means, you jump into it. But here in the Northeast, as well as other places throughout the country, people are buying. The chances of you trying to accumulate a whole bunch of credit cards for $500,000, good luck. I'll sell you the book Brooklyn Bridge while you're at it. So I say that to say that is really what we discussed in the funding flow to deal flow. Because I tell people all the time, the money piece is the easiest part of a real estate deal. It's not the hardest part. What's the hardest part is that most people do not know what a deal looks like, and they don't know how to analyze a deal. And so when I say a deal, I did have someone who did attend, and they said, Lorillia, you keep saying deal. What is a deal? And I do have a tendency to speak in a way that the audience knows. So a deal is the real estate investing asset that you're looking to buy. So whenever you hear me say deal here on this video or on this podcast, that is what I'm talking about. The real estate asset that you're looking to buy. Most investors who want to get into the space, I'm not talking about the seasoned ones, they don't even know how to analyze the investment or the property or the asset that they're looking to buy. They're approaching it like it's a first-time home buyer investment. And when I say that, one may say, well, what do you mean by that, Lorillia? Let me give you an example. When you're a first-time home buyer, there are people who are there to assist you. You have the real estate agent who's going to show you the home and everything. But before that real estate agent gets started, what is the first thing they say? We have to get you pre-qualified. We have to get you a pre-approval. They go through that whole process. And what happens is that mortgage professional takes all your information and says, hello, friend, this is what you can afford. And they give you that pre-approval or that pre-qualification, and they share it with the real estate agent, and the real estate agent is going to show you homes that they know that you can qualify to buy. In the investing world, it's not like that. There is no lender who is going to sit down and say, hey, potential investor, let me show you how you can buy a fix or flip property. They're not going to sit there and run the numbers. So when I say deal, what I mean is that do you know the numbers that it's going to take to be able for you to make a profit and the lender to make a profit. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to the investor space, lenders are only looking for, will I make money on this deal? And do you have the ability to pay? That's the only thing they care about. They don't care about your love for the property, your love for the neighborhood, the generational wealth that you want to build. So, with knowing that, you have to approach it at that. You need to know, okay, if I buy this property at this price, what is the after repair value if I'm doing a fix or flip that I'm going to bring this property up to? Then, on top of that, what are the repairs that are needed? What are the holding costs? And then a conversation is said, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Lender, this is how much of money I'm going to put in the deal to show you that I'm serious. I'm going to put some skin in the game. And then also, this is what I'm looking for you to be able to put into this deal so you can make money from this. It is a clear conversation. What I find when I talk to a lot of investors who are bloated with information, meaning that their business credit, expert told them how they are going to be a real estate millionaire with just a business credit card. I asked them about, okay, tell me something about the deal. They cannot talk about the deal to you. They don't know the numbers of the deal. All they know is, I want to do fix and flips. I got a credit card. I got a few of them. This is not the market, ladies and gentlemen, to be playing Russian roulette. If you have not went through 2008, and if you went through that, you have some data. You either came out it on top, and you're saying, okay, if this was to ever happen again, this is what I would have did different. Or if you did come on it on top, you would say, okay, this is what I did in 2008. This is what I did during the pandemic. And it's looking similar to it. Not fully, but there are some similarities. This is what I'm going to do to come on top. And that is what I tell people. I tell people, ladies and gentlemen, 2008 is when I got started in real estate. That was the worst time where most people saw doom and gloom. I saw opportunity. Banks were foreclosing on homes. I found an opportunity to be able to wholesale those homes. That is why I am a big advocate of, you do not need money to get started in real estate. Why? Because I didn't start with money in real estate. Outside of my primary home where I live, I'm talking about investing. I'm not talking about what was purchased to buy a home for my primary residence. I'm talking about investing. I did not start with having money. So it makes my ears burn. It's like nails on a chalkboard when I hear people say, you need money to get started in real estate. No, you don't. You need to have an understanding of the deal. Once you have an understanding of the deal, then you can start looking at, okay, what are the ways financially I can approach this deal? So I say that to say, in every market, there are opportunities. See, for me, I'm talking from data. I went through 2008. I had wins in 2008. I also witnessed that, yes, there were a lot of people hurting, but there were a lot of people winning. And let me tell you, when I was wholesaling, those people who were buying never told me, oh, Lorillia, the housing market is bad. I don't have money to buy homes. They had money. And that's why today I can sit here, do this video, do this podcast, and tell you, if you want to invest in real estate in a recession, you need to really understand the market that you are in. So if you bought into, I'm going to use a business credit card and I'm going to be a real estate millionaire, I'm going to go buy out in Ohio, buy out in Indiana, buy out somewhere in the Midwest, you better know that market. Because just like I said, here in the Northeast, multifamilies on the low end going for $500,000. Many of the listeners who are listen to this video, watch this video, listen to this podcast, don't even have the capacity to even understand that $500,000, and people are buying. So I walk away from this podcast and video to let you know this. How to invest in real estate in a recession is going to depend a lot on being able to implement the information that you have. Most people are bloated on information. There's tons of information. Right now, we live in a time now, it's easy for people to remix regurgitated information on YouTube from Chat GPT, from social media clips, and appear as if they know what they are doing. But if they cannot actually help you implement what it is that they're telling you, because I on a weekly basis, it never ceases to amaze me how I'll have somebody who will say, and this is, hey, this is no shade on the industry, but people will say, oh, I have this person who's teaching me this and giving me information on this, and I'm always like, well, why are you here? Because if they're sharing with you all that information, then they should be able to lead the charge and put you in the direction of what it is that you're looking for. So I say that to say, be very careful of people who want to give you information but cannot lead you to where the information is supposed to lead you to give you the result. Because most people cannot do that part. They'll fill you up with information, but they do not know how to get you to the result. As I mentioned to you, anything that I share with you today is something that I can help you implement. So if you are watching this video or if you're listening to this podcast and you are someone who is looking to invest in real estate and a real estate investor, and you're looking to maybe possibly leverage business funding and also get investor financing, whether it's fix or flip, multifamily, fix to rent, new construction, let's have a conversation. Let me show you how you could pair those two together for it to be a win-win. This is not information. This is implementation. This is not a let me give you some information to just bloat you with more information. This is how can we implement your goals, which is how to expand your current real estate portfolio using the different forms of financing. So if that sounds like you, let's have a conversation. Once again, this is Lorillia from the Never Lose a Deal podcast. As always, the show is being sponsored by Leverage Portfolio Capital. If you are someone who is a real estate investor and is looking for investor financing, DSCR, construction loans, fix to flip, fix to rent, let's have a conversation. Go to www.leverageportfoliocapital to learn more. You'll see the website scrolling here on the video, and I look forward to talking to you in the next podcast episode. Until the next time, bye bye.